Hello, chat. Hello, everyone. We're gonna be starting it. We're gonna be starting, or at least I hope, because we have like. Hang on. Let me switch over to the. Let me switch over. So, welcome to the reading stream. I got a new model. We're in this ending as always, because I thought it would be kind of nice. So we're in this ending, and we got a good selection of fics today. We got a lot of fics. I mean, not a lot of fics. We got only 6. But we've got fics, and we're gonna read them. And I'm kind of excited because, actually, if you will observe, consider looking to the right. Here we have the lineup of fics and with their tags, just so you can also go through them. This is the lineup. We're gonna start from. We have 6. You have 6. I'm improvising this as I go. I didn't rehearse anything. But whatever. We got understanding each other. Then we got under the mistletoe without you. Then we got the wedding. Then we got this is a story of a person named Sage and a man called the narrator. Then you and me and this thing called eternity. And then we ended off with don't drink and narrate. The last 2 were asked to be put to the end. But you know what? I think we're gonna end off on a good note, so. But how are we doing, everyone? Also, as you can see, chat is like, chat is literally just right with like on here and not on the side. So we ballin'. Okay, wait. Let me get this. There you go. And also, along with my new model, not only do we hang on, let me get the music. Not only do we have this new model, it has several emotes, such as when I'm actually reading, and most importantly, when I have to take a water break, because hydration is important. Man cry because we let men, but also women, and everything in between. Alright, we'll start things off. We'll get started. Alright. I've warmed up for like half an hour. I don't think I'm supposed to do that, but articulation is important. Alright. Let's start things off. Alright. Okay. Understanding each other. The skip button made them feel. It's for the better, they suppose. Alright. Actually, also, let me know if you want the... Wait, shoot, that's... The classical music's really loud, I didn't realize. Let me know if you want to keep the classical music or just turn it off and have this ending audio. But besides that, we're gonna be starting. So... Don't worry, you'll be like honestly, I read through it. It's really good. It's so good, yo. I'm like, I can't wait to read it. Hi, yo, welcome to the stream. We're actually just about to start reading. Alright, let's get started with understanding each other. Yeah, I'm gonna turn off the classical music. I need to focus. We need to lock in. Okay. He remembers one other time that warmth felt this cold. Wait, I forgot. Shoot, I can still hear the classical music. I forgot I just muted it on the stream. Whatever. Ahem. I need to be more professional with this, but whatever. Ahem. He remembers one other time that warmth felt this cold. It was so close, yet so far away, not being able to warm himself up, letting the office's AC unit overwork itself as he hadn't stepped through the bright door. One step out of that place, and his freedom was taken away from him, resetting him back to his cramped office. He longed to touch grass, admire the sky, and to find some shape on that unmoving clouds. He often found himself closing his eyes, imagining how that would look, as a gentle... Wait. Wait, sorry, hang on. What? Are you telling me I still have that Where is... What? Wait. Do I still have an X-Reader? X-Reader at... Do I... Wait, hang on a second. This is gonna sound cringe, but do I still have my X-Reader extension? Oh, I do! Wait! No, turn off now. Hang on, I haven't even used this extension in ages. Yes, screw it, we're just... Yeah. My apologies. I forgot I had an X-Reader extension. Because, like, I was going through the lines, and one of the lines just had randomly your name in it, and I'm like, huh? What do you mean? Okay. Yeah, you caught me. Okay. I forgot to do the whatever. From the top. Wait, that's a line. Shoot. Whatever. Understanding each other. From the top. He remembers one other time that warmth felt this cold. It was so close, yet so far away, not being able to warm himself up, letting the office's AC unit overwork itself as he hadn't stepped through the bright door. One step out of that place, and his freedom was taken away from him, resetting him back to his cramped office. He longed to touch grass, admire the sky, and to find some shape on unmoving clouds. He often found himself closing his eyes, imagining how that would look as a gentle synthetic breeze touched his skin, silently, uselessly, praying that raindrops fell from them sometime. Stanley hoped one day that he would see weather. He got what he asked for, somewhat. Harsh sun and deliberating sandstorms at day and cold winds at night, easily cutting through the very little warmth of the dress shirt he wore, all torn and uncomfortably tight when he moved. It was that button, that damned button, yellow mockery of choice, breaking the narrative up to the point where there wasn't even a narrative anymore. What happened to the narrator? Stanley wondered. He missed him. Stanley kept walking, shuddering at the thought of the narrator not being with him. Are you listening to me? Stanley, can you hear me? Stanley, this is important. A few resets ago, he would have relished the fact that the narrator was silent for once, but now, sitting in his office with nothing but his own thoughts, it made him feel cold, more than the office's AC ever would. Did they feel like this too, even before the skip button on that ending Stanley didn't like, when he was forced out of his body, watching as the narrator talks to the husk? Oh my god, Stanley thinks. That button wasn't the first time you've experienced that, is it? He asks his mute audience. You have gone through that before, he repeats, eyes glued to the ceiling as a couple tears stray from his eyes. That time was scripted, though. You knew it would happen, and for how long? You're upset. Of course they were. Of course they are, Stanley reasoned. I know you are upset. You have every right. But I hope you understand what I feel now, though this was not my intention. I just wanted to get out of that room. A pause, and Stanley was out of his office. Maybe a regular ending would make them both feel better. It was worth a try anyway. Narrator was monotonous when talking, as if showing any emotion would make Stanley go against him. He really hoped he could get his narrator back. Blackness, and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? That was the first time Stanley touched the grass. Felt the breeze. The sun wasn't scorching hot anymore, but a pleasant buzz on his skin. Narrator broke his emotionless facade, whispering out this first question. Have you been living like that all this time? That question was complicated to address. He knew the answer, but the feeling that it left behind was torturous to face. Somewhat. I had more things to do than watch someone else's body standing completely still, or be in the same, almost never-changing room. The questions continued, whatever equivalent of time they had in this limbo passed as they talked. That reset was the one that changed their relationship. The frenemy dynamic they had developed over the years turned into a deep understanding of each other. The memory zone was never the same again. Peaceful? Yes. But there was this tension that made both of them get chills when glancing around. And sure, sometimes they fight, bicker, and hurt each other. But at the end of the day, each other is all they really have. This is a story of a man named Stanley. And that's the first fic, gang. How are we feeling? Wait, how are we feeling? I forgot to change back to the right one. Wait, let me... How are we changing? Honestly, damn, that was really good. That was genuinely, though. I'm like, that character analysis. Me when the character analysis. It was really good. Awesome. Oh yeah, if you want me to post, actually, let me get the, let me see if I can get, I don't know if I can, let me try. Yeah. I mean, you know what? Maybe at this point I can try seeing if I can do these streams more often. It's like a good way to, you know, showcase things in the fandom. But yeah. Yeah, let me get the fic real quick. And afterwards... There we go. There's the link. I'll pin that for right now. Okay. Now let's move on to the second one. That being Under the Mistletoe Without You. Ironic, it reminds me of this one fic that I really like. Okay. Yay! Okay, let's get started. Let me just, there we go, right to the right emote. Okay. That's totally fair, yo. The chat's only there if you guys want to, like, live react or anything. Ahem. Under the Mistletoe Without You. The narrator had set up mistletoes all over the lounge, some might say setting up a trap. But what happens when that trap utterly backfires in the worst way? Or, alternatively, narrator gets cucked by a bucket. Also, welcome to the stream, yo. We're on the second fic. The first fic's link is the first link to the first fic is on the pinned message. All right. No, I love that part of the okay. That's really funny. All right. Let's start. The narrator is beyond smug smirking as he steps down from a ladder he placed in the employee lounge. In his mind, there was no possible way this was going to fail. The narrator had put up a stupid amount of mistletoes in the ceiling, an ungodly amount. If someone was allergic to the parasitic plant, they'd be long dead. The being sighs and paces back and forth near the couch. He was baffled at why Stanley wasn't there yet. He assumed Stanley would take the wrong way as usual, even without his guidance. Or perhaps he finally listened for once. Then he heard the footsteps down the hall, and knew that his presumption was wrong. The narrator felt almost giddy at the thought of his plan going well. Only for the narrator's smile to fade instantly when he realized what the other was holding. Stanley, why did you bring the bucket? I mean, wouldn't you want a break from it? To the narrator's dismay and disappointment, the employee shook his head. I suppose the being then stopped himself as he came across a terrible thought. Stanley, don't walk any further. Please wait. The narrator was in utter shock. All he could cry out was a pitiful no before it was too late. The employee had already walked into the room, sealing his fate. He was staring at the green-covered ceiling in utter confusion, inadvertently standing under a few mistletoes in the process. The narrator dreaded the next moments of just staring at Stanley. Would he have to kiss that stupid bucket in front of him? It was how the tradition went, until he realized Stanley wasn't moving. He was just staring at the other, a confused look on his face. Was Stanley messing with him? The narrator certainly wasn't having it. If this was going to happen, he'd rather it just happen anyway. Stanley, just stop toying with me. Just kiss the bucket already. I know how this goes. He yelled out with so much emotion, you'd think someone was dying. But Stanley just stared at him in bewilderment, eventually signing. What? The narrator paused, taking a moment when his gaze softened. Oh, I thought you already knew about this tradition." The beings inside, realizing the can of worms he opened. Stanley was a painfully curious creature. He would now bug the narrator to tell him. He might as well just bite the dust and get it over with. The narrator then explained the history of the mistletoe, explaining why it was used and the history of it, all the while walking closer to Stanley, just hoping that they would get close to each other. Stanley, in the meantime, took steps away from him. It wasn't on purpose. He was just staring at the ceiling in awe. Eventually, the narrator gave up and stood still. He figured he would not get close to Stanley right now. When the narrator finished, the office employee stopped and looked back at his bucket. The beautiful steel bucket. It was so gorgeous under this light, or the light that wasn't covered by the plant. With his newfound knowledge, Stanley leaned in. His lips met against the steel of the bucket. It was cold, yet comforting. The kiss lasted a while. All the while, narrator just stood there watching, silently wishing it was him. Though he would never say that, he was too prideful to beg. He wished he would never made that thing. Still, it was too late. Too late to remove the bucket. Too late to take the mistletoes down. Too late to stop this. It was most certainly too late for the narrator to kiss him, the protagonist he relied dearly on. Eventually, Stanley parted from the bucket. He instantly regretted it, missing the cold metallic feel against his lips. He kissed the bucket again and again. The time didn't seem to go by for the office employee. Had it been 8 minutes? Many more? Maybe more? Who's to say? All Stanley knew was he was in heaven with his bucket. The comfort it provided, working like a charm, even now. Stanley just kept kissing his bucket, perhaps to make up for how many mistletoes he walked under. So many he walked under with his beloved bucket. The narrator all but having to stand there watching. He was unable to intervene. It would only worsen the pain. At least Stanley was happy. And that's the end of this one. How are we feeling, chat? I read through this. I went to go skim over this when I first got the fic first got the fic submitted, and I was like, oh man, this is funny. And I read through it and I was like, damn, this is gonna be fun to read. You did an amazing job, yo. This is an amazing fic. Good for Stanley. For real. Good for Stanley. L for the narrator, but you know what? At least Stanley's getting it. Stanley's having the time of his life right now. Okay. Let's get the link and let's get the link in the chat. Heard no comfort. Here's the link to this fic. I can't wait for the sequel. This was really good. Alright. Moving swiftly along, I really hope that, like, the next few ones take a bit of time, because the last two I kind of need to dawdle on. Because I want to make sure, like... I want to make sure that, the authors actually get into chat in time. We are all in... Yeah, for real. Alright. Up next, it's someone in chat. We have the wedding. Alright. God, sorry, hang on. My hands are really cold. It is so cold out here. Yes, it is yours. We got the wedding. Tags are in there if y'all ready if you need to look at it. But we'll get started. Hang on. Let me get the it's so hard switching between the emotes because it's like do you see how like they're on okay. Water. Okay. Alright, let's get started with the wedding. For real. Alright. The wedding. The place is beautiful, Curie says, with a loving smile at her future spouse. Mariella chuckles and nods. Not as beautiful as you are. Curie laughs giddily. Oh, Mariella. Sorry. God, I need to stop drinking water! I need to stop drinking water. I don't know why it's making me do that. Anyways, sorry. Starting over from the top again. Hopefully nothing bad happens. Okay. Wait. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. The place is beautiful, Curie says, with a loving glance at her future spouse. Mariella chuckles and nods. Not as beautiful as you are. Curie laughs giddily. Oh, Mariella, she murmurs, adoration in her voice. The woman forces herself to avert her lingering gaze on the blonde and smiles. Both are standing in a wide green field. Behind it are a few hills, with a waterfall leading into a stream. Right before them lies the place where the wedding ceremony is supposed to be held when the time finally comes. A light breeze brushes over their hair, letting light strands float for mere seconds. The two close their eyes and breathe, in and out. Curie and Mariella's hands fully intertwined now. The warmth is comforting. I have overlooked the area and finished the layout plan. I have overlooked the area and finished the layout plan. Decorations are included as well. The man looks up from his clipboard, now on eye-to-eye level. Before Curie can express her gratitude, Mariella already speaks up. Thank you, Mr. Edlin. You have helped us so much. He nods. That is my job. His serious expression softens, lifting the facade of the serious businessman for a few moments. I'm always happy. I'm always glad to happy couples like you. A few months later. I'm sorry. I'm like tongue twisted. A few months later. The venue is beautiful. The tables are covered. Jesus. The venue is beautiful. The tables are covered with white cloth adorned with lace. Vases. Vases with white and blue and dark blue roses are placed on the tables. An enormous amount of champagne is built to a pyramid. Single glasses are served to the guests on silver plates. A timer is counting down to when it officially starts. Guests are chatting and laughing, while Curie nervously scurries around. Don't worry, Curie. Everything is going after the plan. Raymond tries to calm her down, despite clearly not being able to stand still himself. While he was chosen as the ring bearer, Stanley will walk Mariella down the aisle. Every guest sits finally, and the timer runs out. There doesn't seem to be one single chair left when hang on. When Aaron, is that how you pronounce it? I'm sorry. Taps on the microphone. Somehow, they manage to earn the privilege to marry off couples. Nobody really knows why, but they honestly stopped questioning the silly things they do. It's also much more convenient regarding the budge. Hello, welcome to the stream. We're in the middle of the third fic, technically. Right. Alright. Also, having a friend marry you to somebody is quite a story and a nice event to look back on. You worry too much, Raymond says, while circling the glass of alcohol-free champagne in his hand. Says the man who is as nervous as I am, she replies, bobbing up and down. Oh, shush, he laughs. In all seriousness, no. It will be fine. Try to enjoy the special event. It's not every day that you marry someone, is it not? Curie clicks her tongue in disapproval. Have we talked about how terrible you are at calming other people down? I am quite extraordinary when calming down Stanley, if I do say so myself, he shrugs. Regardless, you've already said so yourself. I'm just as nervous as you are. In situations like these, you might as well ask a bucket to calm you down. He turns his head. Curie doesn't respond. Gosh, just what exactly is Aaron doing? The ceremony's supposed to be starting any minute now. The woman next to him rams her elbow in his side. What was that for? The man exclaims, clutching his side and hissing in pain. You are agitating me even more than I already am. Raymond raises an eyebrow. That does not mean you can just puncture my lungs. You are such a drama queen, oh my god. A chuckle escapes her, and the air finally lights up a bit. A tap on the microphone is able to be heard, and then a voice. Dear guests, thank you for coming today. We are celebrating the bond of two people. The ceremony will begin shortly. Aaron smiles and bows, before leaving the stage once more, now walking towards Curie. Sorry, but there were some slight complications. It is all fixed now. Great suit, by the way. Suits you. Curie furrows her brows and glances toward Raymond. Thank you. That was really kind of you. However, could you tell me what complications exactly? Oh, Erin audibly sucks in the air through her teeth and shakes her head. No, I'm afraid not. That would be kind of spoiler, for lack of a better word. Well, I have to get moving. See you in a bit. And they were gone again. I know for a certainty that you were about to ask. No, I have no idea whatsoever he was talking about. Oh well, Curie murmurs and sighs. Right. Raymond wants to start another attempt at calming her down. The music starts playing. Right, sorry. I need to go through these fics better. Okay. Right as Raymond wants to start another attempt at calming her down, the music starts playing. Because they are facing the stage, they have to turn around. On the white cloth, adorned with rose petals and all kinds of colors, Mariella steps slowly against Stanley, right next to her. Her dress is a beautiful one, with layers over layers of tulle. A long veil decorated with dark blue and deep red roses drag behind her over the ground. She looks up, one hand slightly lifting the dress, another enclosing the bridal bouquet. Curie's and Mariella's eyes meet. A deep ocean and a wide grassy field. Only they exist, right in this moment of utter peace, happiness, and love. It is truly a magical moment as the two walk together and step on the heightened platform, hand in hand. They could hardly remove the eyes from each other, grinning and laughing like high schoolers. On the right, in the first row, sit the guests of honor. Stanley takes his place. On his right, Jim. On his left, the empty seat reserved for his boyfriend. God damn it, I'm gonna cry, murmurs Jim, already unpacking a pack of tissues. Stanley simply nods slowly. The couple exchange loving glances facing each other, while Erin finishes his speech and starts reciting. And now you will exchange vows. Curie, would you like to begin, or do you prefer to start, Mariella? They ask. You can begin, dear, Mariella says. Curie smiles and begins. Mariella, you are the star in my sky that shines the brightest, illuminating the darkest times with all the love you can hold. You have bewitched me with your kindness, stole my heart and ran. My soul can find both peace and pure joy by your side. I vow to you my everlasting love. At times, when I can only see dense fog, wherever you look, I will be your guiding light. Regardless how dark the times may seem, you and I shall overcome them together. She finishes and invites Mariella to continue. The blonde has formed tears in her eyes. Her hands, which are softly enclosed by the other woman, are shaking. Oh, Curie, I cannot form the words at this moment, but I know that it doesn't matter to you. No matter what, you have always accepted me the way I am. You make me complete, and I wish to do the same. My love for you cannot be described. However, every small gesture of mine shall show it, and will always be full of utter devotion. I will always be there for you, and I know you'll be there too. Together is now our way. The guests sigh in awe, but the brides are completely focused on each other. Tears stream down Mariella's face. Curie's eyes are also beginning to water. Raymond steps up after getting asked to, wiping one or two tears away absently. The rose gold rings are beautiful. Two parallel lines full of diamonds frame an elegant floral leaf design, which is also diamond encrusted. Said rings are carefully put inside a wooden black ring case, on a shining piece of deep purple fabric. Each bride slowly takes one ring out and puts it on their palm. Raymond smiles, lowers his head slightly as a bow, and finally goes to his reserved seat. Erin nods and continues. I would like to read first, before we continue, a poem that both brides chose together. It goes as follows. 2 lines, previously out of reach, now a steady stream. Inside they flow like a river into each other, now encasing the other playfully. The ways of life. Like stated in the poem, fate has brought these two together, twisting both their ways into one. Today we are gathered here to see these two beautiful people entering a brand new chapter in their lives, this time together until death does them part. Erin finishes the sentence solemnly. Their arms are wide outstretched in another of their grand gestures. They turn their attention back to the two brides. I now ask you to put the rings into each other's hands. After the rings are exchanged, Erin continues their speech until wrapping it up with the famous question, do you vow to cherish each other in good and bad times until death does you part, Curie? I do. And do you, Mariella, vow to nurture both of your love until the last breath you take? I do, she softly speaks. Anyone who is against it shall speak up now or remain silent forever. After a tense pause, they continue once more. Then I happily announce you wife and wife. You may kiss. And Mariella does. She pulls Curie into such a passionate kiss that one may think that she had always waited for this moment. Perhaps both of them have. When they part, very reluctantly, one may add, to breathe, they turn to the audience, grinning and giggling while holding each other's hand. The applause is grand. Everyone is as excited and happy as they are. Mariella squeezes Curie's hand like she is scared of jolting up from a dream, and Curie does the same. But it isn't a dream. Sorry, hang on a second. If you see me taking a pause, it's because I keep on forgetting I have auto mod on. Anyways, sorry to break the fourth wall. Anyway, we're back. The applause is grand. Everyone is as excited and happy as they are. Mariella squeezes Curie's hand like she is scared of jolting up from a dream, and Curie does the same. But it isn't a dream. All of their closest friends standing up to follow them down the aisle is real. It all feels so surreal, but perfect. Erin still says a few words, but they don't hear it. They can only see themselves and, due to the occasional glances behind them, the others. Mariella gets pulled up by the deep blue of the sea that Curie's eyes are, and pulled out in amusement when glancing at Jim fiddling with his grey tuxedo. It is unusual for him to be a mess of emotions and a rather amusing sight. Mariella's eyes go back to Curie, who's smiling fondly at her, and then to the rings on their hands shining in the sunlight. Curie takes her eyes off her newlywed wife, and she has to hold back a laugh at the nervous mess that Raymond currently is. The usual so sophisticated and elegant man seems to squeeze Stanley's hand to death. The brunette, however, looks as calm as always. Only people close to him are able to tell that he is as excited as everyone else is. They stop outside, and Mariella has to hold herself back from giggling. It is an amusing sight. Stanley only grins, while his boyfriend looks like he's about to explode from excitement. Jim is the first to congratulate the two. Stanley and Raymond follow, all with a hug and some encouraging words. After a while, Stanley and Jim ask if they could already go to the banquet. Curie smiles. My dear wife, would you escort the two already? It is going to take a bit until Erin declares it to be open, but me and Raymond still have something to discuss. Mariella's face takes on a slight pink hue at being called my wife, and she giggles. Sure, I don't mind. Don't keep us waiting for too long, though. We still have to accept the guest congratulations, and also I don't want to miss any chance to dance. Curie nods, and Mariella grins. Come on, guys, let's go. It took a while, but Curie and Raymond have finally returned. While they were gone, Mariella had received many congratulations, and all three were currently talking with a crowd of guests. Stanley and Jim stand aside. Stanley with a glass of orange juice, Jim with a glass of champagne, and have a conversation with Erin, who arrived as well not too long ago. Curie greets her wife with a hug from behind and a soft kiss to the cheek. Mariella laughs and takes her by the hand and urges her to engage with the guests as well. You will have me later all to yourself. Aw man, Jim turns to Stanley and Erin. Guys, don't you ever wish you had something like that too? When you see happy couples, I mean. Then he stops and without a word turns first to Stanley, then to Erin. God, I'm all alone in this, aren't I? Aaron grins, sipping from his glass of water. Yep. They turn to Stanley, nodding their head in the direction behind him. Oi, Stanley, look who's coming. Stanley raises an eyebrow and turns around. His eyes light up when he sees his boyfriend returning. Sorry, guys, be right back, he signs quickly and rushes towards Raymond. Aaron? Mm-hmm. I hate you. I hate you. Sorry. Aaron almost chokes on his water. That was salt in my wound. Jim turns his head to the person on the ground dying of laughter. Aaron eventually calms down and replies, Sorry, but the opportunity was there. Jim frowns, half serious. I would kick your butt right now if you weren't at a wedding. After the huge wedding banquet, there is a cut in the program. Curie and Mariella walk to the platform and Mariella takes the microphone. Hello, my dear guests. I want to thank you all so much for coming, and now we both would like to announce something. Curie takes over. Before the dance begins, we want to throw our wedding bouquet. Mariella giggles, shortly takes the microphone and adds, Of course, not a real bouquet, but with a replica of it. Curie laughs. Thank you, darling. I almost forgot to add that. So the dance will take part after this. Please, everyone, stand up and walk a bit more in this direction. Your standing place should be far enough from the podium so we can really throw it, but near enough for you to catch it, Mariella calls out. It took a while of waiting and organizing, but in the end everyone has gathered themselves. Aaron announces everything again. All right, now here are some rules for everyone to follow. Everyone can take part of it. Those who do not want to play can stay a bit away. Here on the right or the left. Can stay a bit away here on the right or the left. For anyone that does want to catch the bouquet, please keep an eye out for your surroundings and the people around you. We don't want to have to call an ambulance on this glorious day. Alright, that's it. Please prepare now. The applause gets quieter. Curie and Mariella agree on throwing it both together, laughing awkwardly. Laughing awkwardly, the throw is surprisingly good, reaching as far as to the end of the crowd. One pair of hands catches it and the crowd splits. The smiling face of Stanley is revealed. Raymond, who had no interest in taking part himself, looks surprised first at his partner, then the bouquet at his hands. You got... He opens his mouth, closes it again. His face was a deep red, of his voice a stutter. Gosh, Stanley, you... He let out a laugh. A rare occurrence, and Stanley's face takes on a slightly pink hue. Mariella squeaks, shaking her newlywed wife excitedly. She then rips the microphone out of Aaron's hands and grins. Stanley, do you accept this sign of a future marriage? The one spoken to hesitates, meeting Raymond's eyes. For God's sake, Stanley, the man smiles once more before turning to the brides. We do, don't we, my beloved? The brunette's jaw dropped, and his face a deep red, nodded, a big grin forming on his face as his boyfriend takes his hands. Intertwines Stanley's with his and stands a bit fairer outside. All right, it's over. Nothing to see here. Stanley gives him the bouquet. But we will join the dance, right? Maybe. My God, what have you done to me, Stanley? My face is burning, he mumbles. Stanley only grins. The dance is beautiful. Mariella and Curie are in the middle, surrounded by the other couples, and dance a slow waltz. It is only them, and they are glad to have each other. Until the end of time, Curie whispers. The blood nods. Until the end of time. The end. How are we feeling, chat? I wasn't able to look at the chat at any point because I was wanting to focus. But how are we feeling? Reactions, comments, thoughts. Thoughts? Yeah, it was really cute. Can I just say I love how this was so cute. I love this. Alright, thanks for tuning into the stream, yo. Thanks you for submitting something while you could. Listen, I don't mind doing a long thing. If anything, I mean, to be fair, my voice, but I got like my whole water bottle and another glass of water to help me cope. But yeah, thank you for tuning into the stream and thank you for submitting something. And thank you to everyone who's already submitted a fic who's in chat. This was great. These were so cute. I have a hydrate emoji. Yes, I do. I love women. Gay people. Gay people are so cool. I wish they were real. /J/J. Hell yeah. No, I'm definitely gonna do another one. I actually really like this. Plus, since I left my drama program in university, this is the closest thing I can get to like theater. And by that I mean going on performing and reading. Hang on, water break. Alright, we're good. Thank you. Alright. Oh wait, everyone's here. Slay. Yay! That means sorry, I was just like, oh man, everything is coming into motion because I had I had two of y'all's fics saved to the very end, so that way you could make it. Hey, listen, I don't care if it's really long. I'll read it, and I'll definitely do this again. All right, next up, here we got. This is a story of a person named Sage and a man called the narrator. This is a long one, so I'm gonna take a few breaks in between. I'm gonna like rest for a bit. I'm gonna sip my water. I'm actually kind of excited for this one because it's got narrator lines in it. And I've played the game so much to the point where it's in my head how his intonation. So I get to practice my nary voice. Hee hee, ha ha, ho ho. Like, this is a story of a man named Stanley. Alright. We ready? We ready. Okay. Yeah, we're reading from chapter 4. Chapter 4, titled, Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite. Sorry. Alright. Let's begin. Why don't we begin again? Okay. Sorry, the narrator... The new model is making me narrate-coded. I feel like... I need to, like... God, I need to stop... I say... Whatever. Okay. Let's get focused. Alright, here we go. When Not Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door and... Oh, wait, I forgot! Wait, hang on! Sorry, hang on. I just realized I forgot to put the fic link. My apologies. I'm like, I need to get the link. We need to... because this is also about self-promo. So here's the link to the last fic. But also in the form, this is only limited to people this is also limited to people who have 803 accounts. So keep that in mind if you want to read it. Alright. Focusing. We're going back. We're focusing again. Ahem. Here we go. When Not Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on their left. Sage raised a brow at the narration, but decided not to obey. Interested to see where this goes, they followed his directions and went through that door. As they made their way down the winding hallways, they noticed more doors. There had been doors before, but none of which Sage could open. They were locked, so they didn't bother trying to open any other. Then they arrived to the meeting room. The door closed behind them, surprising them. Do you have to do that? They remarked. I mean, yes. I am quite sure that without the closing of the door behind you, you would go and you could and would go back. And what kind of choice would that be? The narrator explained, without a hint of sarcasm. Sage rolled their eyes playfully before the narrator spoke again. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Not Stanley decided to go up to the boss's office, hoping they might find an answer there. Sage proceeded around the table and down the room and out the door, where they turned the corner and found the door labeled Broom Closet. Curious, and figuring nothing bad would happen if they just had a look, they tried the handle and was surprised it even opened. They stepped inside and were delighted to see that it was in fact quite the broom closet, very simple and straightforward, with all the tools that a broom closet full of cleaning supplies would have. Not Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. The narrator suddenly narrated before Sage could do anything. However, hearing them say this, they decided to see what would happen if they stuck around. There was a period of silence before the narrator continued. There was nothing here, no choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. Sage cracked a smile as they slowly sat down on the floor, and were trying not to giggle like a fool as they sat there with the most amused energy ever. They truly did not want to torment the narrator, but he was getting so flummoxed over something so silly. Hang on a second, I forgot to close my door. Hang on a second. Sorry, we're back. I just looked to my door and I saw it was open and I saw my brother pass and I'm like, oh damn. Really catching me reading fics aloud. Okay. Oof, the lag. Shoot. Alright. We're back. We're focusing again. Locking in. Alright. It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting around in the broom closet. They weren't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, they'd be justified in some way. But as it is, they're literally just standing there, doing sweet FA. The narrator began to sound annoyed, but as another pause lingered, Sage covered their face to hide their smirk. Are you really still in the broom closet, standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused. The narrator asked, actually sounding confused for the moment. Sage was chortling under their hands, but apparently the narrator did not hear them. You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I said Stanley walked past a broom closet, at least you would have a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me, because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it, he remarked. The frustration returned to his voice. Maybe to you, this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe, when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite. I hope your friends find this concerning. At this, Sage burst out laughing, unable to contain themselves anymore. The narrator said nothing, as there was a palpable surprise in the air as he seemed to watch them lose their absolute mind laughing. The way he mocked online people was definitely something, Sage would say, and it made them laugh. As they continued laughing, the narrator seemed to catch on. Not Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. They probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid they are. That or with drug money. The narrator's tone was obviously joking and not at all meant to be an insult. Just as predicted, Sage burst out laughing once more. Also, Not Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. At this point, the narrator was joining in on the laughter as Sage was starting to cry from how intensely they laughed. Several moments passed as they both just let the laughter ride out through them. Sorry, hang on. Thank you. I do my best. I do the accent, but I don't want to embarrass myself. I want to do the accent because I can hear his voice doing the accent. But I don't want to do the accent because I feel like I'm going to embarrass myself. I've done it before, but like, if I'm reading something, I feel like... Actually, let me try. Let me redo this paragraph one more time with the accent. Not Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. They probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid they are. That or with drug money. Also, Not Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Sorry, I wanted to do that. Hee. Alright. Yeah, you know what? I'll do the accent. I'll try. I'll try my best. But my apologies to every British person that ever existed. And my partner. My apologies to everyone. You were right. You're right. This is AO3 and Tumblr users. We ball. Okay. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. At this point... Why did I say blah, blah, blah? I meant like... Because I already read through this paragraph. But you know what I mean. The narrator was... Oh, wait. I didn't read through this. Never mind. Bleh. At this point, the narrator was joining in on the laughter as Sage was starting to cry from how intensely they laughed. Several moments passed as they both just let the laughter ride out through them before the narrator and Sage composed themselves, with Sage smiling genuinely. The narrator was silent, but they could feel his gaze on them. It was soft and pleased, almost. Sage chuckled. "I will have you know, good sir, that I am, or I suppose, used to be a sex worker," Sage admitted, yet wasn't upset by the fact or even ashamed. "Why used to?" the narrator asked, with no ill intent on his behalf. Why am I... Sorry, I'm getting confused with narration here. I'm narrating the narrator, but that means I need to do the voice for the narrator, but not in the narration. So I need to narrate for the narrator, but have my own voice in my own narration. Sorry. "Why used to?" the narrator asked, with no ill intent on his behalf. In fact, he sounded sheepish for making fun of the profession in the face of an actual sex worker. Sage shrugged as a sad smile formed on their face. "I'm here now, and I don't know what my future holds for me," they explained, voice quiet by the end. The narrator said nothing for a few seconds before he cleared his throat. "Ah, I see," the narrator said rather stiffly, as if unsure of how to approach such a topic. There was an awkward yet probably needed pause before the narrator exclaimed, "Well, in any case, if you are quite finished," he remarked with no actual bite of his tone, which made Sage smile slightly, "let us continue our way. We still have a story to tell." Sage nodded as they got up from the floor and exited the broom closet, and walking down the hall once more. And before long they came to an opening which led to a flight of stairs, one direction going up and the other going down. Sage waited for the narrator to give instructions. Coming to a staircase, Not Stanley walked upstairs to Stanley's boss's office. To Stanley's boss's office? That's a tongue twister. The narrator narrated that I narrated. Sorry. Sage did just that and went up the stairs, climbing up several flights, but feeling winded by the time they reached the top. They took it slow, but it still took it out of them. When they reached the top, they immediately noticed how much more cleaner and nicer everything was. It was made of wood and red decorative wallpaper on the walls with hardwood floors. There was a secretary desk with 2 double doors which opened up into a larger office. Sage stepped through and the doors closed behind them. "Now what?" they asked. "Patience," the narrator asserted. Sage rolled their eyes once more. In any case, stepping into the manager's office, Not Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. "Yeah, no dip, Sherlock," Sage commented with no malice. They could feel the narrator clutch his script tighter as his eyes met theirs, though they could not see it with a testy look. They grinned. The narrator cleared his throat. Shocked, unraveled, Not Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from them. What they could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that Stanley's boss had been keeping from him, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Not Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. The narrator explained dramatically, and as he reached the end and iterated the PIN number, Sage decided to heed his words. There was a silence once more as Sage sat back down in the boss's chair, which was quite comfy. They leaned back into it and exhaled. Not Stanley just sat around twiddling their thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since they could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. The narrator was beginning to sound frustrated, and Sage wondered why on earth he was getting frustrated. Confused, but ultimately sure, they simply leaned back further into the chair. Silence. 2845. The narrator dragged the numbers over his tongue. Did he even have one? As his tone was so obviously annoyed. Sage looked upwards to the ceiling, and when they heard him and their brows furrowed. He did say they couldn't possibly have known, so why was he repeating himself? Oh. But just as they were about to get up and input the code, the narrator spoke up. For God, but as it turns out, But as it turns out, that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door suddenly opened all by itself, and not Stanley got the hell of along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo. Wow, I'm surprised. This is the first... my hours, my days spent listening to the same goddamn voice lines over and over again is actually coming to... It's actually useful. Yippee. Sorry. Anyways, focusing. Sage watched as the lights dimmed and the fireplace was gone. The room was then cast in bright floodlights, and there was now an opening where the fireplace once stood. Sage smiled sheepishly. In my defense, you did say I couldn't possibly have known this, Sage pointed out. The narrator just groaned. Ugh, I cannot actually tell you are actually screwing with me versus when you're actually being genuine. He sighed, defeated. Sage offered half a smile and shrugged. Could say the same about you because, you know, you are a disembodied voice speaking to me from who knows where, they stated. I've already explained this. I'm practically part of this realm, the narrator recalled. Sage could only remain silent as they walked into the admittedly creepy area and looked all around them, paranoia creeping up on them. What's wrong? Stuff's creepy. Did you have to make it creepy? They replied, on edge. There was a pause before there was a noticeable shift in the atmosphere, as the narrator seemed to be watching them extremely closely. Oh, I think I did, but only the best for you, my dear, he teased, sounding absolutely pleased with himself. Sage had to admit they had it coming. But damn it, why the creepy corridors? Just why? Sage tensed their face as they walked over to the darkness, and to their surprise, found an elevator with a glowing red button to go down. They threw a look over their shoulder before almost running into the elevator and slamming on the button. They kept their back to the wall as the elevator doors closed and they began to descend. Sage was panting as they realized their heart rate had gone up. They eventually managed to get their heart beating back down before they exhaled and stood up straight. Ooh, sorry for the lag. I'm gonna take a quick... I'm gonna take a quick water break because my throat... Okay, there we... Wait, shit. There we go. Sorry. Whew, throat. Terrible day to have a cough. But we slay. We slay, we persevere, we gulp. Water. Hydration. Hydrate before you dehydrate. Alright. And also, how we feeling though? I think we're... well, at least according to like the scroll bar at the side, we're halfway-ish through. So how are we feeling, chat? How are we feeling? I just need a break real quick. But how are we doing? It's too late! I said hydrate or dihydrate. That's so real. I'm eepy all the time. Well, I'm enjoying this. Personally, I am personally enjoying this a lot, honestly. This is really good. Oof. It is flu season. Get your flu shots. Oof, that's fair. Whew, okay. Alright. Okay, I think I'm ready to go back. Okay. Let's get back to it. They eventually managed to get their heart beating back down before they exhaled and stood up straight. Are you alright? The narrator asked, not concerned, more jesting in tone. Don't tell me I gave you an actual scare back there. I promise you, there was nothing there to steal you and gobble you up. I don't want to talk about it, Sage stressed as they looked down at the floor and clutched their shirt. There was another moment of silence before the narrator returned to his narrations and story. Descending deeper into the building, Not Stanley realized they felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in their chest, as though they felt more free to think for themselves, to question the nature of their job. Why did they feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to them? This question would not go unanswered for long. The narrator narrated as an elevator came to a stop, and Sage stepped out as the doors opened. The halls were akin to an old underground electric grid. They carefully walked around the loose cables and proceeded down the hall and down the stairs, where they saw a massive opening with a sign that read Mind Control Facility. Not Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The narrator said, but as Sage walked past it, they stopped when they saw what awaited them to their left. Another hallway, which went far enough ahead that all they could see was a fog of some kind. They had no idea where this hall went, but it was marked on the wall with the words scribbled on, Escape. They considered it, but figured that if the narrator wasn't guiding them this way, that they probably shouldn't go down that way. "What's down there?" they asked, pointing to the hall and looking up. "Your death," the narrator admitted ominously. Sage shivered at how dark his voice suddenly got, as they realized it probably wasn't worth going down and finding out. Besides, he seemed to be honest with them thus far, so they proceeded forward and into the mind control facility. There was blackness as they entered the barely lit room with a catwalk that led to a console with a computer and a big button with a light bulb on it. Sage pressed it. The lights rose in an enormous room packed with television screens. The narrator narrated as what he said came to being. The lights turned on and revealed several hundreds of television screens. Sage stared around themselves with awe and a bit of horror. What horrible secret did this place hold? Not Stanley thought to themselves. Did they have the strength to find out? As he said this, another catwalk rose up to connect another console to the one they were currently at. The gates opened, and Sage walked over, briefly looking down at the abyss as they wondered just how deep it would go. The urge to jump presented itself before they shook their head and continued forward. This new console had a button with a security camera on it, so they pressed it and the lights flickered on. Sorry. There we go. Okay. Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed, the narrator proclaimed, and Sage had to admit his style of writing and speaking was rather endearing. Dare they say cute? They smiled to themselves as he continued. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. Another catwalk rose up and the gates opened to that one. Sage proceeded forward and to another desk and console, where yet another button with an elevator symbol on it. They pressed it. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had not Stanley really been in someone else's control all this time? Was this the only reason they were happy with their boring job? That their emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? The narrator lamented as he got way into character. Hey, I'm just realizing I got too into that line. God damn it. Me, narrator in this fic, getting too deep into the voice lines. Also, go eat. That was a bit late, but whatever. Go eat. Anyways. The narrator lamented as he got way too into character. Sage smiled as he realized that they should have been feeling this way had they only been Stanley. They realized that they were in fact playing the role of someone who was not in fact them, and they suddenly felt rather embarrassed to be there. But as the elevator came from the black abyss and the gates to it opened, Sage entered. They couldn't dawdle too much, they supposed. Wait, I know how the narrator says this line. let me slip into narratorisms real quick. Because I know how he says this line to a T. I know how he intonates it. Okay, let me be a bit stupid here. They couldn't dawdle too much, they supposed. No, they refused to believe it. They couldn't accept it. Their own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? wasn't even possible? Had they truly spent their utter life utterly blind to the world? Sorry. The narrator exclaimed with even more anguish than before, and his performance and genuine inclusion of Sage's character was fun to listen to. He was truly a talented wordplay, and as the elevator ascended into a new area with monitors and computers and even more consoles and buttons, Sage suddenly felt invested in the story. Was this Stanley's actual life? What an unfortunate life this poor guy must have. Thank you. Projecting my period cramps onto the narrator. Thank you. I listened too much to this man's voice. But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of Stanley's past began to sink in, not Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for they would dismantle the controls once and for all. The narrator proclaimed, and Sage had to agree with him. This way have been Stanley's story. This way have been Stanley's story, but they were not going to let this machine continue to exist if it caused this much torment. They rushed past the desks and crossed a room where the final catwalk presented itself, and at the end of it, another console. And when at last they found the source of the room's power, they knew it was their duty, their obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. The narrator disclosed, and Sage nodded as they approached the desk, where there were two buttons. One had off on it, and the other had on it. Sage, without a moment's notice, hit the off button, and they were suddenly met with the whir of machines shutting down and darkness surrounded them. They began to feel tense as they looked around, but saw nothing. Blackness, and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? The narrator muttered, as if on edge of his own seat. A few moments had passed, and suddenly the floor shook, as a massive door began to open and slowly come down. Yes, they had won. They had defeated the machine, unshackled themselves from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away, and yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, not Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still laid unsolved. Where had Stanley's co-workers gone? How had they been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? The narrator seemed to be exactly describing Sage's internal monologue. He was right. Why was Stanley imprisoned in the first place? What else was there? Sage wanted to find out. But they also knew that they couldn't go back now. All they could do was see what happened ahead. But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, they realized none of this mattered to them, for it was not knowledge or even power that they had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps their goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell them where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life they'd live, it would be theirs, the narrator dismissed. Sage couldn't help but frown at that. No, that was not true. They wanted to figure out what was going on. But as the doors were almost down, the narrator continued. And that was all they needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Not Stanley stepped through the open door. The light came in as the door was fully opened. Sage slowly walked towards it. They looked back before stepping outside and exhaled in surprise when they felt the warmth of the sun and the cool air and breeze of a fresh spring day. They looked on and saw rolling hills with buildings in the distance. What lay beyond them? Who else was out there? Could Stanley be out there, somewhere? As they wondered about this, the narrator... Sorry. Every time I drink water, I have this weird urge to burp, but I can't burp. So I'm just like, ooh, whatever. What else lay beyond them? Who else was out there? Could Stanley be out there, somewhere? As they wondered about this, the narrator spoke again. Not Stanley felt the cool breeze upon their skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of a new path before them. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Not Stanley was happy, the narrator concluded, as Sage looked around, but to their surprise, a white light surrounded them, serene and beautiful. They smiled as they hoped that perhaps things would be all right. And then blackness. Sage gasped as they looked around. They felt like they were falling as their bodies seemed to weigh 1,000,000 kilograms. Everything felt so intense as emotion swept over them, and their body felt like it was on fire. They tried to scream, but nothing came out. They began to panic as they shook their head and clutched their hair and head with such intensity that they thought they would crush it. All they could bear was a feminine yet cold voice whispering, with the whispers growing in intensity and volume. The end is never the end, 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 is never the end. Sage opened their eyes as they gasped and cried out in terror, as if they had just awoken from a nightmare. What had just happened? But as they looked around, a dreadful realization came upon them. They were back in Stanley's office, sitting at the desk. They immediately stood up, knocking over the chair as they shook their head. They felt the telltale signs of a panic attack coming up as they felt like they couldn't breathe. Why were they back? What had happened? They rushed out the door. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427, and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk. The narration suddenly stopped there as there was silence once more, and Sage felt a familiar feeling of déjà vu creeping upon them. Oh, Not Stanley, it's you. The narrator sounded relieved to see them once more, but Sage could not be further from the same level of happiness. I was beginning to think that you had died. They shook their head as they raced out of the office and down the hall, running as fast as they could. Wait, where are you going? The narrator's voice sounded as far off as Sage ran further away and into the hall once more, before they came across 2 doors. Oh wow, I had no idea you could run so fast. You aren't letting me explain anything. Let me just... No! Sage yelled as they ran down the left door and into the meeting room. The narrator fumbled as he tried to keep up, but Sage wouldn't stop. They ran past the broom closet, up the stairs to the boss's office, and into the office itself. You are quite clever, aren't you? The narrator, irritated yet out-of-breath voice, exclaimed sarcastically, causing Sage to jump. Do you know the pin too? Sage answered him by frantically inputting the numbers, which they were surprised that they even remembered, but they didn't have time to think as they raced through the passageway and got into the elevator and down they went once more. Seeing as they couldn't outrun the narrator here, they heard a shuffle. How do you know so much about this? The narrator asked, frustrated. Can't you just give me, the narrator of the story, some time to talk? I need to scroll. Never! Sage yelled as the elevator came down to a halt, and they practically crawled out and ran down once more. The narrator groaned in mild irritation as Sage felt him follow them, and they came upon the sign that read Mind Control Facility and a hall with escape written on it. They bolted down that hall. They felt a sudden rush of anxiety go through them, but realized it wasn't their own. Not Stanley, I don't know how else to say this, but you are walking towards your death. The door hasn't closed behind you. Please, come back, please, and let me explain, the narrator pleaded. But Sage was not deterred, as they simply pressed forward with no hesitation. That's what you said before. Piss off, you liar, they yelled angrily, as their pace quickened. Before, the narrator mumbled to himself, sounding confused, but Sage did not linger on that. Oh, for the love of... I'm not lying to you. You are willingly going to your death. And then Sage came to it. A hole in the floor that was dark and deep, and they jumped. They felt themselves falling for a bit before they landed on a metal platform with metal bars all around them, practically trapping them in the cage. They were confused for a moment as they looked around before the machine whirred to life, and they were suddenly pushed forward down the conveyor belt. The lights came on as they saw 2 massive crushing machines slam against each other and squish a piece of metal into a thin line, and they were headed straight to it. Sage screamed in horror as the machine smashed several more metal pieces before them. They tried to climb the cage, but found that there was no exit. "Help!" they cried as they realized they were going to die. As they realized they were going to die, and they were going to never see anyone again. But as the massive metal jaws inched closer, Sage reflected upon their life and where they were at. Was it even worth living anymore? After all the crap, all the horribleness that was their life? They couldn't confidently answer that with a yes. And so they resigned, and willingly accepted this violent end to their brief and shallow life. They closed their eyes. The metal jaws were coming down. "Farewell, Sage." But when Sage didn't feel the crushing weight of two crushers, they opened their eyes slowly and found the machines had stopped. Oh wait, hang on. I can do the curator thing. Yay! Wait, sorry. I'm not. I need to be serious in this moment, but I'm like it's curator lines. "Farewell, Sage," whispered the human, as Sage was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Sage was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in their body, killing them instantly. That voice. It was the same voice from... Sage cried out in surprise as the floor beneath them gave out, and they landed not a second later onto a catwalk. They looked up immediately, regarding the two crushers that were mere moments from killing them. Their eyes widened as they looked down the catwalk, where there was an open door. Curiosity overwhelmed them as they walked down the hall. And that's the chapter. To read the rest, read it on... That's the chapter. Read the rest on your own. Hey, thank you. I actually really do like doing curator's voice. Because, like, I remember I used to try to do it whenever I ever did that ending. Because it was like, "Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as a machine. Sorry. I like doing that voice. It's fun. Thank you. But also, that was a good fic. That was a really good fic. And also, a really great excuse for me to actually start, to me using my narrator impressions. Yippee! Yay! Alright, posting the link to the fic in the chat. If you want to read the rest, go read it there. That was such a good chapter. That was so interesting. I'm actually... Oscar Curator TSP 2 for the Stanley Parable 2, Stanley Forever. I'll be voicing I'll be voicing Curator as I'm just like, no man can own a bucket. Okay. But still, that was really good. That was a really good chapter, and I honestly, after this, I'm probably gonna read the rest of it because it was just that good. Gonna take a quick water break, and I'm gonna take a little bit of a chat first before we get back into it, because that is a long chapter and my voice. Whoo. Yoy. But yeah, that was a good fic. TSP the musical? No. Me walking out on stage. Didn't just start Stanley is on a tram slowly being dragged in the center of the stage to the front. But then before it leans down and throws Stanley off stage, you have me walking out. It was just farewell Stanley, cried the narrator. I'm glad y'all are enjoying it. This is really fun. I need to do this more often. We need to do more I need to do more events for the fandom, because I want to do more stuff for the fandom. Okay, you're so right though. The narrator would be probably the best role to play in this musical, just because he'd be not the main character, but you know what I mean. He'd be the main guy. He'd just be the first song is just the intro monologue. We're this is a story of a man named Stanley. Alright. This is a story. Hell yeah. We writing musicals here. You know what's that bad where I'm so worried about how my voice is gonna be that I have two, like, a glass of water in my water bottle. It's not as bad though compared to like when I did like swooning over stands, because that was like my voice was sore by the end of it. Oh wait, you know what'd be so cute if we're thinking about this hypothetical like Stanley Parable musical. I feel like the narrator and curator would open it. It would be like in the Mean Girls musical, where it's like cautionary tale, but instead of that, it's just like Stanley, like it's just curator and narrator going like, just like walking up, and it's like today we're here to tell you a story about a certain man who works in an office, and then narrator's just like, out of my way, it's my turn, just like, out of my way, gay boy, I'm about to. You know what I mean. Stanley Parable 2, the musical. Please, we need to make this happen. I'll gladly audition. I have friends in theater too. I can just be like, hey, can you help me direct this? I'll act. Oh, you know, it'd be cool too if like the musical has yes, the out of bounds limericks. You know what else would be cool though? If like in this musical, you have like, I'm trying to. I had a thought and I immediately forgot it. But like, it'd be. I don't know. It would just be fun. Yes, thank you. Out of my way, gay boy. I'm about to liberate this more. Yeah. Oh wait, what? Stanley Parable drag show? That's sick. That's so sick. What? Oh wait, you know what'd be even cool? Hang on, I'm getting too excited about this idea now. But like, okay, what if, right? At the beginning, it's like instead of like that, it's like a selection of like people going, a selection of like a bunch of narrator designs. Like you got ones from the well-recognized ones. You got Thierry. You got Black. You got like I'm trying to think of everyone else's, but like I can't remember a lot of names. But like you see the narrator designs in the lineup, and then like, wait, no, that'll be before the show. That'll be before the show, where it's like there's just a bunch of like clothes lined up in like, and like you can tell that specific narrator outfits, and then the audience has to pick which one. And then before the show, once they get the votes, they have like the actor for the narrator step out as a design, so that way you can choose which design to perform in. That would be so cool. Sorry, I'm geeking out here. I'm like near theater and Stanley Parable. Yeah. All right. Oh, and even funnier too if it's like there's one for Stanley, but the only difference is just a tie color. So like, people have to choose between like, I don't know, whether you want Black Cat Jaws' narrator to perform Thierry, maybe mine. But then for Stanley's, it's just like, which tie do you want this man to be in? Like, it doesn't like. I don't know. It'd be funny. All right, I think I've yapped on my own for enough. Let's move on to the last two fics. And now, okay. For this one, we got chapter from you and me in this thing called Eternity. Okay. This one's a bit short, which, honestly, thank you so much. May, thank you so much. My throat. The fish tie. Yes! The fish tie. Okay. We're focusing. Summary for this one. There's so many reasons to love the broom closet. It's the best place in the game. Okay. Oh wait, more narrating times. More narrating voicing times. Yippee! I'm like flapping my hands. I'm like, yay! Thank you for this, May. Thank you. My throat is saved. Okay. Okay. Let's go. Got start? Okay. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here. The narrator's tone is of quiet exasperation. He stares at Stanley, who smiles at him from the center of the closet and does not move. Stanley, I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's been years, and I still truly don't understand your fascination with this place. There's nothing here. Stanley shrugs noncommittally. The narrator can't follow him in here. The fellow scowls and steps into the closet, uncomfortably close to him. He crosses his arms, deeply unimpressed. Okay, usually the narrator can't follow him in here. A smirk tugs at the edge of his mouth. If it's privacy you're after, then I'm afraid you're playing the wrong game, Stanley. Making a face, Stanley grabs him by the shoulders and turns him to push him out of the closet. It's a bunch of things, he adds, blowing a raspberry at the fellow as he walks him to the stairs. There's the privacy, yes, the way the narrator can't hear him when he can't see him. There's also the way the narrator can't stop talking, grumbling and snarking and being just fun to work until lather. But you really just live together in my skin, you know that? A pest is what you are. The prim nose turns upward in a scoff, but the fellow scrunches it when Stanley stops in the middle, landing a step ahead of him to press a stubbly cheek to his temple in a nuzzle. A pest, he repeats, hand on the railing, corners of his mouth turned up. There's also the other thing, but you know, that's pretty rare. It's a fun surprise. Wait, what other thing? Huh? They blink at each other, standing on the landing. The narrator doesn't know about the thing? I have no idea what you're talking about. Huh. Another secret of the parable, then. Stanley finds himself giggling. Stanley, I hate when you do that. He shakes his head. It's not a bad thing. He promises. He'll show the narrator if it ever shows up. He just wants to surprise him. It's nice. He checks the broom closet every run, for countless runs. The narrator sighs in resignation each time, but he isn't dissuaded. And then, a countless number of resets later, there it is. What? Stanley holds the door open and gestures proudly to the arcade console standing in the center of the broom closet. Ta-da! What? The narrator gawks, mouth open. He makes monosyllabic, flabbergasted noises before settling on, what, how in hell? Stanley leads him into the closet and shows him the high score, all labeled with the same Stan Man 8. He presses the start button, hand on the joystick, and guides the pixelated line around the screen with intense focus. When it consumes the dot, he looks again at the narrator, gesturing at the display. Snake! Yes, I understand the premise of the game, Stanley. That's not the problem! Stanley giggles, and then steps away from the console to guide the narrator by the shoulders to stand in his place. But play! This is why you end up spending hours in here? Yeah. To play a different game? Yeah! You're unbelievable. I can't believe you. The fellow sputters with a kind of rage. And then he mutters something viciously about destroying Stanley's score so completely that the shame will make Stanley never play it again. Stanley cheers him on as he plays. The end. I read through all of this too before stream, and this was really sweet as well. And plus too, can this be real? I would love for that to happen. It was just like, there is just like, Stanley, what are you doing? And then it's just like, hang on, I'm getting a high score. Get out of the broom closet. I'm trying to get a high score. Alright, posting the link in the chat. Go read it. It's good. Okay, we have the last one. We have but the last one, and honestly, actually, this is gonna be this is gonna be a really fun one to do as well. But I'm gonna go take a quick break just to like gonna go do a quick bathroom break. I'll leave y'all to it, but just hang on. I'm gonna take a quick break, and I'll be back in a few seconds. BRB. Hello, I'm back. Also, yeah, before I forgot to mention, May, that was a really good fic. I swear to God, I need to actually start reading more Stanley Parable fics because this was really good. I love the way you write them. I love how everyone's written them so far, but it's so good. All right, the last one. Cutting into the last one. This is actually I'm really excited for this one. Yes, also everyone go read about this. This is good. You write them so well. It's amazing, honestly. All right. On to the next and last fic of the night. Which honestly, thank God, I didn't realize I've been going for about an hour, half an hour now. All right. Next one and the last one. Don't drink and narrate. Which, there's 2 chapters. I'm gonna do one, but that's just because the first one's kind of silly and I really like it. Because I get to act drunk. And I love acting drunk. I did an entire play in Romeo of like high school theater, Romeo and Juliet, where I had to play Friar Lawrence, but I played him as like this drunk guy from Brooklyn. It was great. I stole the show. Yay! Yay! I get to check drunk again. I got my water bottle, the same one I did when I got that role, and I'm proud of it. Okay. Actually, not the same one, but you know, the intention is there. Thank you. I will do my best. I will not let you down. Okay. Don't drink and narrate. Summary. Something's off about the narrator today. He's got emotions, and he's sharing them? Oof, the lag. Wait. Every time y'all mention lag, I gotta check to see if it's me. Because mine lags as well. Drunk Oz can hurt you, Drunk Oz. Hey, listen. I spent an entire goddamn play acting drunk, and I was like, I have not drank a lip of alcohol since becoming an adult. I am but a pure-hearted guy. Okay, let's go. Okay, focusing this time. Okay. This is a story of a man, and his name is Stanley. Yes. Huh. Well, that wasn't right. Stanley often found himself tuning out the game's beginning narration. Most of the time, in fact. But there was no better way to catch his attention than by introducing something different into the mix. And this was certainly no different. Stanley worked at a company, right? And where he was employee number 427. Yeah, there was absolutely something off with the narrator today. Stanley wondered whether he should be concerned, or if this was just a new thing concocted to throw him off. Though, if that was the case, why it was only just now being introduced was beyond him. Stanley's job, employee number 427's job was to, push buttons. Was the narrator sick? Was that even possible? Weirder things have happened in the game before, but Stanley himself was usually the guinea pig whenever some strange new occurrence took place. The parable never started wrong. This was just odd. He was very good at his job. He was really, really fun at pushing buttons. I'm so proud of him. Okay, that confirmed it. Something seriously weird was afoot. Stanley knew he had to wait until the opening monologue finished until he could actively weigh in. So he sat in his chair, immobile and silent, until the narrator was finished. But as he came to his senses and regained his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk. Oh, hi, Stanley. There you are. And you stepped out of your office. He did. Yes. Stanley looked up at the ceiling, where he always projected his thoughts directed toward the narrator. His eyebrows were raised in a way that signaled both concern and secret amusement. Hey, Are you feeling okay? Oh, of course, I'm good. I'm so good. I'm the best, actually. A very worrying and utterly hilarious idea began to dawn on Stanley. He didn't even know it was possible, but... Narrator? Are you drunk? The narrator giggled a little. No, of course not. I'm just, partaking in more human pleasures. Activities. Alright, so that's a yes then. Stanley shook his head, trying not to laugh. How'd you even manage that? With wine! The narrator sounded very proud of himself, which broke Stanley completely. He cracked up laughing, nearly falling out of his new desk chair. They recently decided to replace it with an extra fun spinny rolly chair, and it was more than he was used to. Okay, cool, Stanley conceded after he regained his balance. I don't know where you got the wine, or more importantly, why you didn't share, but this is fine, we can work with this. Do you still want to play? Of course, we have to play the game, Stanley. Don't make me reset. Oh, you look so pretty when you're smiling like that. Jeez, this was only going to complicate things. Okay then. Can you remember the directions? Because I'm gonna count on you to not lead me into my death. No, I won't, the narrator promised. He sounded so impassioned and sad at the very idea of leading Stanley into harm's way. It was almost endearing. Sorry, I'm still trying. I don't know why automod censors gay a lot. Whatever. It's not. Okay. Oh, what the hell, right? He might as well roll with this. It was something new. And it was apparently bringing out a different side of the narrator. Not that Stanley cared about that, of course. Jesus, my voice! Okay. Alright, you're in charge. Tell me what to do next. You leave your office... Oh, wait. No. I'm telling a story. So, Stanley stepped out of his office. Actually, didn't I say that already? Yeah, you did, Stanley grinned. He stood up and obliged, stepping out into the main office space as per usual. My bad, I forgot to leave. What's next? Stanley, you're funny, you know that? The narrator's voice fluctuated between its usual dramatic cadence and something softer, more reverent, like he was observing the parable again for the first time. I'm glad you're here. This is a good story, and I want you to like it, okay? Stanley exhaled in amusement, hoping his face wasn't turning pink. Yeah, I know. I do like it. Okay, I'm glad. Now, so, all of Stanley's co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley shrugged, finding himself slowly growing gleeful from anticipation of what the narrator would say next. Well, they're gone, Stanley. Oh goodness, you're not too worried about this, are you? I never thought about how this would affect you. Stanley, you know it's not really about them. It's about you, okay? The way he rambled on would have been a little bit pitiful if it wasn't so, well, for lack of a better term, adorable. Yep, I know, it's our story. You made it about me, so we're going through it together. Exactly! Oh, Stanley, you understand me. I'm really, really happy that you get it, you know? Alright, they weren't going to get any of the more complex endings today. Nothing with any complicated elements or confusing twists. Just Stanley and the narrator, as the parable intended. Stanley walked into the corridor that held the two doors, and dutifully entered the left door. When he came to a set of... Oh, good. The door on his left. That's it. I knew you could follow the correct path, Stanley. The narrator hummed happily for a few moments, seemingly forgetting that there was more to his intended story. And then? Stanley prompted. And then he... Well, goodness, this is rather embarrassing. I seem to have lost my train of thought. You forgot your lines? Stanley shook with laughter. How does that even happen? I didn't... I'm smart, I promise. Stanley, Trust me, I know the script. Stanley made himself stop laughing, forcing the big grin to waver down to a gentle smile. Hey, I know. It happens to the best of us. I shouldn't have shown up like this. I'm sorry. Narrator, you're fine. Do you want to come down? He was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke up timidly. Yes. Stanley heard the chime of another player's model entering the game, signaling that the narrator had made a rare appearance in his human form. Where are you? He prompted. In the lounge. Stanley couldn't help but smirk, shaking his head fondly. As much as the narrator complained about the employee lounge, it was the most comfortable place to rest whenever either of them needed a break. Most often, of course, it was Stanley who did so, but it was kind of nice to see the all-powerful narrator in the moment of vulnerability. Stanley rerouted himself, back through the left door, entering the right, and into the lounge where, sure enough, he saw the narrator sprawled out on one of the couches. He approached him, tentatively touching his arm. Hi. The narrator's eyes snapped open. Stanley. Hey, come sit down. Stanley blinked. Are you sure? Even on the rare occasions that the narrator did spawn into the office space, they hardly ever spent time so physically close to one another. If you want, please. Stanley, his glasses were a little bit crooked, his golden speckled eyes hazy. His slightly shorter stature looked small with the way he was slouching, looking up at Stanley. And Stanley couldn't resist joining him on the sofa. At least for now. You're very affectionate tonight. Yes, well, I can't help it. He fluttered his eyelids, looking pathetic and sincere. I am, sure. Stanley had a hunch as to what he was going to say, but evidently he wasn't quite that level intoxicated. No, I don't know, but it's all right. The narrator sighed, continuing to look at Stanley as he slouched further, leaning into him. You're stubborn. This is why this game's gone on for so long, because we're both damn stubborn. Stanley wasn't sure if that was exactly the reason, but he nodded anyway. It wasn't like it was untrue. Yeah, I know we are. But somehow we both managed to keep things interesting, huh? He nudged the narrator gently, teasing. So you would be here if I wasn't for you. I know. Me neither. We're stuck here. We're stuck with each other. But that's not just that, the narrator insisted, pushing back against him a little. God, you're really gonna make me say it? Stanley looked him in the eye. Only if you want to. You're good, the narrator mumbled, giving in and snuggling up against him. Stanley was always so warm in contrast to his own perpetually cold body. I don't know how you've made me so soft. It's unfair. Stanley rested his chin on top of the narrator's head. All part of the human experience. They stayed like that for a while. Okay, the narrator said at last, as if relinquishing some power. Well, I'm still in this mind frame. I might as well say it. He stared down at his own overworked, fidgety hand as he spoke. You know I love you, right? Stanley's smile spread through the tension, and he knew the narrator could feel it when he couldn't lock eyes with him. Of course. Who else would want to commit their life to me? Oh, you silly old fool, was the narrator's flustered response at having his own words thrown back at him. He was blushing, whether from alcohol, pleasure, or a combination of the two. Neither could tell. Yeah, but I love you too, Stanley relented, pressing his body against his companion's, relishing in the rare moment of human contact. It didn't happen nearly enough, this level of connection between them. And sure, it was a little bit sad that it took the narrator having this inebriated state to come down and talk for the first time in a while, but it didn't matter to him. But it didn't matter right now. They had all the time in the world, after all. The end! Or at least for the first chapter. There's a second chapter. Read it on your own time. Also, I did not read chat. How are we feeling? How did I do? Hang on, just scroll back up. I'm like, I couldn't read chat. I was like getting too in the character. I was leaning on my water bottle going like, Stanley, Stanley. And then it was like, too in the character, dog. God. How we doing? The kiss in the next chapter? I'm tempted now to read the next part. I'm tempted to read the next part now. I'm like, that was fun. Thank you, y'all. Thank you. I really, like, honestly, that was really, that was why I have that already saved to the end, because that was, like, one of the funnest ones I could read. I forgot to change it to the reading one. Shoot. Whatever. Read ball. I thirst for more. Honestly, same. Now that you mentioned that there was a kiss, I want to know. I want to know. Listen, I think I got one more in me. One more in me. One more in me. Yeah, I got one more in me. Yeah, you know I got one more in me. Alright, let's go. Okay. You know what? I think we're gonna do the last chapter. We're gonna do the next chapter because I want to. Oh, you think? Okay. Oof. Thank you for tuning into the stream, yo, and thank you for submitting something. I really like your fic. Can't wait to read the rest of it. But thank you for watching the stream, yo. And also, please check. I want to know if it. Scrape it up. I can do it. Listen. This is like one of the only outlets I have for acting right now. Being an art student, being now an art student, I don't know if I'm gonna have other chances to act again. But so you know what? Okay, yes. Okay, we're reading the next chapter. Okay. Yes, we are going to read the next chapter. This is my executive decision. We're going to read the next chapter because yes, and also because I want to see the kiss. I don't even ship them. I just like how cute this is. Okay. Alright, one more sip of water and then we're gonna start off with the second chapter. More drunk. Oh god, that's so at this point, every time I say, like, that's so real though. Like, every time I say, what is it? Yo, what's up? Sometimes I ended up sounding like Scout because of how much I've done that accent for that role in the play. Because I go up to people and be like, yo, what's up? And then be like, yo, it's me, Scout from TF2. Okay, whatever. Ahem. Chapter 2. We're doing it again! Okay. Okay, starting. 3, 2, 1. I mean, I ship it. It's just that, like, for my narrator and Stanley, I don't ship it. Like, they're just like real. They're QPR for me. But for generally, I do ship them, I guess. Okay. Ahem. Let's start the second chapter. Okay. Hey, Stanley. Guess what? Stanley rubbed his face, trying to adjust to the groggy, just woke up feeling of an unexpected reset. What? He asked, unamused. No, you have to guess, the narrator said jovially. Come on, it'll be fun. Play with me. He sounded weird. He was talking weird. He was... Oh my god. Have you been drinking again? The narrator collapsed into a fit of giggles. Stanley could tell this, despite not being able to see him, because of the muffled thudding that came through the normally clear channel of the narrator's voice. It sort of sounded like he'd fallen off a chair in the midst of laughter. You good up there? Stanley asked, exasperated but somehow not fully annoyed. Yeah, this was a strange thing to witness again. Wait, what? Oh, sorry, okay, I'm gonna focus again. I was just looking in chat a bit. Okay. You got up there? Stanley asked, exasperated but somehow not fully annoyed. Yeah, this was a strange thing to witness again, but he couldn't deny that it was fun. Good, pure, silly fun. He was almost a little jealous. Of course, I'm good. I'm up here. Well, I'm mostly good up here. Stanley? The narrator paused for a second. He sounded uncharacteristically shy when he spoke up again. Do you, want to join me? Stanley blinked, startled by the request. What, like, come to your office? Shoot, he didn't even know if the narrator had an office, but he didn't know what else he could possibly mean. No, not exactly. The narrator sounded so unsure. It was, well, frankly, it was cute. I mean, would you like to have a drink with me? Stanley couldn't help himself. He let out a surprised laugh. He quickly covered his mouth, not wanting to give him the impression that he was laughing at the narrator, but for the life of him, it was just so funny for some reason. Yeah, that'd be great. Should I meet you in the lounge again? The narrator smiled even though Stanley couldn't see him. His face felt so warm all of a sudden, which was weird, because usually everything seemed to be so cold. Was this normal? His cheeks hurt. He realized that Stanley was still waiting for his answer. Actually, could we go somewhere else? I want to share something with you. Stanley froze in place for a brief moment. He heard this type of thing before, yes, and it had led to some very extreme endings. But didn't they trust each other by now? Okay, he conceded. Let's go. Ooh, yes, okay. So, shall I narrate it? Shall I narrate it for you? Yes, I think I will. Stanley exited his office and headed towards the room with the two doors. Stanley obliged. Then he entered the door on his right. Stanley looked up, surprised at the change in script. He knew that he was being led in a different direction now, but it was still jarring to hear any words that deviated from the normal game. Go on, that's okay. Trust me. Will you at least tell me where I'm supposed to be going? Stanley asked, not fully expecting a proper answer. But the narrator's voice came in, sounding quiet and timid. Well, the thing is, I want to meet you in the sending room. I know you probably don't want to, but I promise, it'll be different, okay? It'll be safe. I won't make it, like usual. Stanley couldn't hide his apprehension, but he wanted to give the narrator some semblance of peace. All right, I'll go. Oh, good, yes, thank you. We'll have fun, okay? Yeah, Stanley responded, rolling his eyes. You're lucky that I don't think you're capable of lying when you're drunk. The narrator made a sputtering, offended noise, but he didn't deny the allegation. They both kept quiet as Stanley made his way towards the infamous red door. It felt strange, and a little surreal. They had gone into the sending room a couple of times in the past for non-threatening reasons, but usually it was either used as a power play or as a space to exist in the depressive haze that would occasionally overtake them both. Honestly, they so solemn got to have fun anymore. This was a moment that would be new and addicting. New and exciting. Sorry. Okay, here we go. He made it through the red door and into the starry dome, where the air was melancholy and clear. He looked up at the round platform where he would normally sit alone, but sure enough, the narrator was already waiting there, wringing his hands behind his back. Stanley cleared his throat to get his attention. As the narrator turned around to face him, Stanley smiled fondly and waved. He couldn't help it. You made it. Thank you. Good. Yes. Of course you did. The narrator, whom Stanley still isn't entirely used to seeing in a human form, looked awkwardly pleased. He stood in place, fidgeting as if he didn't know what to do with his body, until Stanley reached him. Hi, said the protagonist to the storyteller, knowing it was perhaps an inadequate greeting, but neither of them cared because they were both just elated to be face-to-face once again. Hi, the narrator answered, smiling ridiculously. God, it was almost too much. Alright, so yes, I've brought some wine and some vodka. Sometimes I mix them together. Hey, don't give me that face. It's not so bad. Wine is too sweet sometimes. I have to balance them out, Stanley. I do have some semblance of taste, Stanley nodded and grabbed the bottle of vodka first. He slugged down a preliminary shot and smirked hard to mask his face reaction to the burning taste. Uh-huh. Do you, though? I do. I'm much more cultured than you, thank you very much. I know so many things. All of them. and you just have to deal with it. He looked so smug with his near incomprehensible answer that Stanley couldn't help but break into laughter. He covered his mouth with his hands, but the narrator glared at him, an indignant flush covering his face. Well, sorry not all of us can have human taste buds, Stanley. Stanley? They sat in silence for a few minutes, trading bottles. Then, your name is dumb, you know that? Stanley almost spit out the mouthful of wine he'd been sampling. He swallowed it, choking back giggles. What the hell, man? Are you trying to kill me? No, the narrator shouted, nearly falling over as he leaned toward his beloved protagonist. No, I'm not. At all. I promise. Stanley kept sipping from the bottle of wine. It seemed to be blackberry, or something like that. He didn't know what the narrator had been on about. It wasn't too sweet at all. It was the perfect balance of dry and fruity and dry, not unlike the narrator himself, actually, really. You're making fun of my name. That's rich coming from the guy who doesn't even have a proper name. I'm your narrator. I don't need a real name. Stanley leaned forward, arching his eyebrows in a teasing way. Oh, you're my narrator, are you? He cracked up as the blushing man in front of him snatched a bottle of wine from his hands and shoved the vodka back towards him. You're not drunk enough for this. It's not fair. The narrator took a long swig from the wine to cover up his embarrassment, but the damage had already been done, and they both knew he'd never live it down. They continued to pass bottles back and forth for some undetermined amount of time. Not that time really mattered anywhere in the parable anyway, but it was especially futile to try and keep track here. Better to just float and watch the stars. It was nice to be able to let go, just to appreciate the lights at the— Wait a minute! We're in this ending too! Yo! Sorry, okay, getting back into— Okay. I think ahead. This totally was planned, and not just because I like the ambience. I plan ahead. I'm smart. Okay. Okay. They sat near each other. Wait, no, wait. It was nice to be able to let go, just to appreciate the lights that the narrator had created seemingly by accident one day that had become such a crucial part of their game. They sat near each other, but not quite close enough to touch. Every so often, they would trade bottles again, or glance at each other in curiosity. Stanley grimaced as he took another pull from the vodka. Okay, could you at least give us some glasses to mix this stuff? What were you doing before, just pouring both in your mouth at once? That doesn't matter, was the narrator's answer. You were, Stanley giggled, feeling a warm rush of vodka-fueled endorphins course through him. You're a mess. I am not, the narrator whined. I'm not used to having a body, Stanley. Half of the time it's freezing in here, and the other half, there's too much goddamn gravity. I don't know how you deal with it every day. Stanley couldn't wipe the grin off his own face. It just takes practice, he tried to explain. He stared at the man next to him for perhaps longer than necessary, tilting his head in admiration. The narrator was truly something to behold, Stanley thought. His face, with its slightly scruffy charm, trying so hard to look serious and intimidating, but so obviously creased with every emotion under the sun. The subtle sprinkling of golden yellow freckles, similar to the ones that dotted his eyes. The way he tapped his headset when he was deep in thought. You look pretty, Stanley offered at last. It must be the lights here. Have you always looked like that? Nope, I've never looked like this. Stanley burst into giggles again. He didn't even know why. Everything that came out of the narrator's mouth was just so funny right now, even if it was completely nonsensical. Oh wait, I forgot? No, wait! Oh wait, you got an ad? Hang on, we are pausing. We are pausing so the ad finishes. Because I say so. Let me know when you're done the ad, yo. Because afterwards, I'm gonna finish. I don't want to read without... Can't read without the author listening. Bet. Gives me time to drink my water. I need to figure out how to change that. I genuinely need to change that. You're back? Yay! Okay. Back to the fic. That's so real. Okay. Back to the fic. Okay. And there we go. I'm back to the reading one. Let's go. I'm a good streamer, okay? Alright. Stanley burst into giggles again. He didn't even know why. Everything that came out of the narrator's mouth was just so funny right now, even if it was completely nonsensical. Give me the wine, Stanley demanded suddenly, making a grabbing motion with his hand. Vodka is gross. I don't know why you bought it. 'Cause it works better, okay? The narrator mumbled, lying back and throwing one arm across his eyes. Say please, Stanley snorted. You wish. Then he took another large gulp from the clear liquor out of spite. He regretted it instantly, and dashed over to the far side of the platform. He fell to his knees, breathing heavily for a moment, but somehow he managed to avoid spilling either of the bottle or his insides. Stanley? The narrator snapped out of his dramatics and stumbled over towards his friend. Are you alright? Stanley exhaled, swallowed, nodded. Yeah, no problem. He looked up to see a hand reaching... Wait, sorry. There we go. Can Automod stop censoring the word gay, please? Okay. He looked up to see a hand reaching down to him, and he took it without a second thought. The room was spinning as he was pulled to his feet. Was it in his head from the alcohol, or did the narrator's own inebriated state affect the way the environments in the game moved? Or was it both? Be careful. I worry about you in this room, you know? They were both standing very close now. The way they leaned into each other was an equal exchange of force, providing both of them with the power to stay standing. Finally, they pulled back. Stanley smiled sleepily and threw himself forward onto the narrator's body, despite being several inches taller. Stanley! The office worker kept laughing, muffled by the way he pressed his face into the narrator's shoulder. Hi, narrator. I'm glad you're here. Right. Me too, Stanley. The sudden wild display of physical contact seemed to sober the narrator by about 10%, so he supposed that meant it was his responsibility to make sure nothing bad happened to Stanley right now. Let's go sit back down, okay? He couldn't keep the anxiety from creeping into his voice. Yes, it was his fault for bringing them here in the first place, but this room could never truly be free of worry and shame. I'm not gonna leave, Stanley reassured him. I won't go anywhere. Anywhere. Away, you know? I know, the narrator said quietly, wanting desperately to let go of the memories associated with this ending room. We're fine, just as long as we stay, okay? Stanley grabbed his hand, surprising him. Come here, he gestured towards himself, indicating that the narrator should keep the close physicality going. So he did. He wrapped his arm around Stanley, pulling him as close as he could. Sorry for bringing you here. Sorry for bringing you here, he spoke quietly, trying and failing not to slur his words. If you weren't ready, I just wanted to see you. There was a moment of silence, but Stanley decided that words weren't necessary. He kissed the narrator's cheek, burying himself as close as possible into his not-quite-human body. Actually, he had expected the narrator to feel cold, but he felt warmer than usual. Stanley wondered if that meant he had a heart after all, something to pump blood through his veins as the wine and vodka and love surged through both of them. Maybe. It had to be something. We should do this more often, the narrator mumbled. Somewhere else, though. Broom closet. Absolutely not. Stanley smiled, feeling the sleepy pulse of a gradual reset overtake them both. Yeah. Whatever you say. And that's the end of it! Woo! Hell yeah! How are we doing? That was good. Oh my god, dude, welcome to the stream. You just missed me reading a bunch of fics. Bro, you just came at the worst time. I literally just finished reading. I'm so sorry, but hey. To everyone who read, to everyone who was here, how are we feeling? It was good, right? Yeah. It's silly. That was so silly, and listen, I love any chance to act drunk. Hey, listen, the VOD's gonna be up after this, honestly. And I'm gonna do this again. This is gonna be my practice for... speaking out loud. Yeah, but this was a really good fic. All of the fics were really silly. I'm gonna go get the link. And let's yap for a bit. Ooh, hell yeah. Honestly, I want to do this more often. All of these fics were really good. Oh yeah, you're right. Thank you. Thank you, Finn. Don't worry, dude. The fics are linked in the chat. This is the one for this chapter. This is the one for this one. It's on the second chapter. My bad, but we got. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna definitely do this again, but honestly, y'all can just submit whatever type of fic you want. It can be just as long as it's not overly overly dark, you know, like nothing concerning, you know. But like if it's angst, if it's something like heavy topics, then like I'll definitely read it. I'll just add in the content warning next time. I didn't check the content warnings because most of these ones were pretty tame. And plus, I have the tags up here for everyone to read. Because I think that's actually better. Yeah, or overly yeah, nothing either too dark or overly suggestive. Just as long as it's, you know, within range, like, you know, someone can read it out loud to a class. Oh, hell yeah. Have a safe flight, yo. And thank you for the fic. That was really great. But that's the stream, gang. That's the stream. I'll definitely do this again, honestly. But if you guys have any suggestions, just let me know in, like, Tumblr, obviously. Thank you, and you too, yo. Yeah, gonna end the stream now because my throat... Ooh. I have been reading aloud for at least 2 hours. But still, this was really fun, and I'm definitely gonna do it again. So, keep an eye out for, like, more reading streams, because I'm definitely gonna be doing more of them. I think maybe, I don't know if next week or, like, maybe next month. I want to make it a monthly thing. I don't want it to do it too much, but still. But alright, see you everyone. Thank you for tuning into the stream, and thank you for submitting fics if you did.